Hello guys. I think we're live now, so I'm just gonna wait for the YouTube confirmation as always. It takes forever for YouTube to actually start showing my face, which is interesting. Forever for YouTube. Anyway, to actually start. Hello Slim. How is it going, dude? It's already nice to see you here. Catching the stream up from minute 0. So I'm doing good, bro. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm not doing too bad actually. Just been working all week. Had a very busy week, to be honest. Did a lot of work, which is good. I was AFK for 2 weeks. I was in Egypt. I was in Egypt for holiday. Shit, dude, that sounds amazing. So whereabouts in Egypt did you go? I've actually never been to Egypt, but it's been on my bucket list for a few years now. Dead holiday though. Why was it dead? Did you go visit family or something? Yeah, when I go on holiday to Brazil and I have to visit family, dude, it's kind of dead as well. Anyway, Cairo. Okay, yeah. I mean that sounds like it was good though. Was tourist. Why was it dead? Why did you not like it? It's just not a good place to visit. One thing, but everything was corrupt. Dude, yeah, I can imagine. I see videos after videos on YouTube about people going to Egypt and then just getting harassed the fuck out of everything, really. Because they won't leave you alone. They want you to buy stuff and they want to like haggle you, and yeah, it's not a good experience, right? I guess. But the history make up for it. That's the thing, because they have a lot of history there, right? Anyway, welcome to everyone who's on the stream now, and we're going to be doing some more C++ today. We're going to be continuing to work on the game engine, right? And possibly getting rid of all the OpenGL, sorry, all the Qt stuff, because I'm kind of sick of having to kind of debug Qt, and it's very annoying for creating windows and letting users create windows from the engine. You know, not counting just the sheer amount of like time you have to waste just by building Qt from Conan, which is currently a requirement on the game engine. So we might have to like redo some of that part. So that was the introduction. I'm going to continue to talk to Slim here because I cut him off on the conversation. But yeah, dude, shame he didn't like it. Shame he didn't like Egypt. I think I still want to go just to see what it's like. I have a very bad feeling that I'm not going to like it when I go to Egypt, and perhaps that's probably because of the scammers that you get in there. But I don't know. I just want to see the pyramids, dude. Just want to see the pyramids. Right. So, for those who are watching this in the last stream, I'm not sure if there's anyone from last stream here. We had a very interesting bug where there was like a no pointer exception inside the renderer. I have now since fixed that after hours just looking at the code and like debugging it and figuring out the flow of the stuff, right? So the main problem that we had, and we're not going to get that now because I fixed it, but we have this class here called triangle window, which actually represents the whole like window that you create, which, you know, is the context for the OpenGL drawing. And that inherits from this OpenGL window here, which is basically a class I got from the Qt example. And this class itself inherits the Q window and Q OpenGL. And what this basically does is, like, once it initializes, we essentially get a OpenGL context so we can start drawing things on it, right? Now, the main thing that has to happen when you create an OpenGL window is the call to, I believe it's initialize, right? So initialize, you can see here, is a virtual void function, which means that, you know, this is actually going to be called on the triangle window because that's inheriting from this. And the code that we had in there before on the triangle window actually had the code that was initializing the renderer and the OpenGL functions instance, right? And that wasn't getting called. And for some reason, it wasn't getting called because we added a non-default constructor to OpenGL window, which prevented that call from happening, right? So I guess there's a bunch of kind of like Qt behind the scenes, or Qt stuff behind the scenes that we just don't understand. So like a bunch of events that are getting cascaded down, and somehow we stopped that from working. But by removing that constructor that we had on the triangle window, this now works again. And yeah, you know, render now is the function that will basically do the whole thing. And you can see here there's a call to, you know, if it needs to initialize, we initialize the OpenGL functions, and we call initialize from this object here, which then goes to the child class. And that's what was happening. So I believe that now it should work again. I think I fixed it. And I've also changed one minor thing, which I'll show in a second. So hopefully we will just be able to kind of render again, which is what we had. So that's good. So we fixed that problem. Now, the other thing I changed as well is I basically removed all of the code that was creating the mesh renderer component from the mesh. And well, it's still here on the renderer, right? Because we still need to have access to the OpenGL functions to be able to convert a mesh object. And a mesh object, for those who don't know, is an object that contains all the vertex data and the indices for instance drawing and the shader program reference to it into a rendered mesh, right? But this code is no longer, this function is no longer getting called from the triangle window. So we've separated the call to like code that's initializing the models from the window. So you don't really have to put that inside the window anymore. And if I just find a reference here, we'll be able to see what I mean. So renderer, okay. There you go, all the references there. So this is now called like arbitrarily by one of the system functions that we've added on that ECS. And you can see that this function itself gets called outside the triangle window, right? And this works by actually sharing the ECS object between the triangle window and the main thread and the main, what do you call it? Yeah, and the main function here. And so far, this is all in the same thread until this app exec thing runs here. That's when we have to worry about it. Which basically means that we can remove all of the code from the triangle window initialize. So there's nothing in here. We don't need to initialize anything like specific to the window anymore. So that basically means that we can have like a different system that's adding kind of meshes outside of the window code, which makes things a little bit nicer to use, again, because the user doesn't have to actually edit the window class. They don't have to subclass it. They can just use a default one. Hello, Vlad. How's it going, dude? I think I sent you a message, man. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but yeah, let me know on Discord if you saw that. Your CV was looking nice, my man. And we have Coke Zero today. I'm still not sponsored by Coca-Cola, but I'm waiting for that sponsorship request at some point. So please make sure you like this video for that to happen. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. But yeah, so we now have the code. Yeah, I just saw. Thank you. No worries, man. Yeah, let me know if it's good feedback. If it's not good feedback, if you want me to look at something else, let me know. Cola's missing out. Yeah, Cola's missing out indeed on the 6 current viewers that we have on the script. So what have we done here? So let me just draw like a really quick diagram to show you guys what we actually kind of have. Oh, this is too bright. Sorry about that. Let's go on to dark mode. There you go. So we basically have the concept of a window. Can I window OpenGL context, right? That's what we have here. And this right now is called, I think it's called the triangle window, right? We also have the ECS, which we call registry in the code. And, you know, internally we have like a bunch of components as well. Like we have the rendered mesh, which is a component. And obviously that goes inside the registry like this. And what else do we have? And we have the application, the whole application, right? So the whole application is basically all of this. Ooh. This is the whole application. Can I just have a text here? There you go, app. Now, prior to this work, what we actually did is we had the window code like this. And the window code had to initialize, well, not the ECS itself, but it took the meshes and initialized them, right? And passed it to the renderer, which is another thing I forgot actually here. So we have this class called renderer, which actually calls OpenGL like draw functions, right? That's what we do. And prior to this is what we had. Let me just move that out a little bit. And of course we have to like increase this a little bit as well. This is getting messy, boys. This is getting messy. So prior to this work, we actually had the OpenGL context here, the window, having to own and initialize both the renderer and the rendered mesh, right? Because we had to basically call OpenGL functions. But because we're using Qt, calling OpenGL functions can only happen once you have an available context, right? And the context is created once you call app exec, which in turns passes, initializes the window, and the window in turn initializes the OpenGL context and whatnot. So that initialize function that we had is like basically started all of this code here, the render and renderer. Now, with this little hack that I did, with the fix that I did, we now have the window as a complete separate like actor in this. So the window, yes, is still an OpenGL context, but the ECS is kind of passed into it. So we also pass into it like that, right? The ECS stuff here and the renderer stuff can be kind of initialized on the side. And how did I do that? Well, I did this by making sure that whenever we create a window, we don't wait for the app.exec call. So this call here is that does all the magic in Qt, by the way. So if you guys have never worked with Qt and you have a GUI application, when you do app.exec, this will like send all the signals. This will send all like the window initialized signals. I think it's actually called QExpose event or whatever, which in turns will like start the window initialization code, right? We can kind of mimic what this does up here with these things here. So there is an app.send event, which will use, it's basically an observer pattern. I'm not sure if you guys know about the observer pattern. Do you guys know what the observer pattern is? If you don't, let me know in the chat. So type no if you don't know, and I can explain. But this whole thing is like an observer that is notifying like all of the Qt objects that are kind of, or this particular Qt object that is listening to a QExpose event. And the process event will actually send it off, right? We'll send it off and say, initialize or handle the QExpose event right now, right? So you will basically, this whole thing makes sure that the QWindow initialize function gets called. And that's what we wanted. Because once that happens, we can then create the renderer. Because the renderer itself, if you look at the constructor, has a call to initialize OpenGL functions. And this is the main thing in Qt. You cannot call initialize OpenGL functions unless you've got a valid OpenGL context already. Because if you do, we're going to get, or we get the issues that we had in the last stream, where we didn't know what the hell was happening. And it was because of this, because we didn't have a valid OpenGL context in Qt at the time that we called the renderer initialize. That's all. Observer equals event dispatching. I guess you've got a point. So no, not necessarily, no. So event dispatching is just like any code that dispatches an event, right? But the observer is kind of a way of doing that, and it tends to be, the thing that people know the most anyway. Are you using OpenGL? I'm using OpenGL with glitch right now, and I want to move over to GLFL and write my own shaders. But yes, we'll be doing some GLFL in this stream actually, so stick on. Make sure you like the stream and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, welcome to the stream. But yeah, that's a good point, Vlad. It's not really the same, but the observer is a way of doing it. If you look at it, so event dispatching. So if you look at both implementations of an observer, we can see the differences. Ooh. Event handler versus observer pattern. Event handler usually is like a callback, isn't it? No, it's not really. It can be an observer. But yeah, to be honest with you, I don't really know. I thought they were, you know, they both do the same thing. So the main point of an event dispatcher is so you kind of share messages with the, you know, actors that are kind of listening to that event. And the observer pattern is a way for, you know, a particular class to say, you know, I want to listen to these events here. So whenever something happens which concerns me, notify me. And that to me is the same thing. But I know that it isn't the same thing. The observer pattern is used for languages that don't have events, which leads to an important point. Design patterns are contextual. Okay, so maybe I just don't know what an event dispatcher architecture is because I don't actually use it anywhere. What is the difference between events and listeners? Yeah, I mean, if you can find a nice like architecture of an event dispatcher, let me know. But I kind of feel like they both achieve the same thing, yeah. But anyway, the point is, Qt will automatically dispatch the events to the right class, right? Which brings me to my next point. This is really, really complicated. The way that this whole thing works is very, very complicated. If I am a user of this this library here that I'm creating, and I'm having to do all of these like little hacks manually to make sure that I have a valid context before I can like start adding my meshes and stuff, like I'm just gonna be like, what the hell? This is kind of complicated, isn't it? So I might just like ditch Qt, to be honest, and that's the point of this stream. I might just use GLFW, sorry. And the reason for that is twofold. One, yes, it's a little bit complicated to actually understand the whole like Qt event or observer pattern architecture and slots and stuff that you have to like implement to receive certain events. Which is fine. I mean, if you like Qt and you know it, it's fine. But the point of this library is to be a very kind of basic game renderer. So like you can just kind of include it in your project and then do like a, you know, new window and start doing some OpenGL or start doing some meshes and stuff, right? So I think it kind of, you know, having Qt here, first of all, it will just increase the build time by quite a lot. I'm not sure if you guys have done this before, but building Qt is ridiculous. Build Qt in C++, it's huge. It's huge. It does take like a, you know, a good 15 minutes to half an hour, depending on the subset of Qt that you're building. GLFW, it's much cleaner, not much cleaner, but much smaller, right? And it takes like seconds to build. So I think we're going to go for that. And with that said, let's start the actual stream. So I still want to have, oh, did I just close Xcolly draw? Because I definitely didn't want to close it. Yeah, there. I still want to have this architecture here. So I still want to have like a window that you can just kind of like do a app.new new window. Oh, sorry, just got a notification. And I want that to be kind of a little bit separate from the whole engine, right? So we're still going to have an ECS. We're still going to have like meshes and stuff and whatnot. But yeah, I don't want these things to be tied, if it makes sense. I want people to implement however many renderers they want, and then just be able to add them to the window like separately, right? So yeah, I mean, let's move over to GLFW. I think that's the first thing we have to do right now to kind of decrease the blow. So first things first, going into Conan and finding out how to include GLFW, because we're using Conan in here. And for those who just tuned into the stream, we are using Conan to like manage the dependencies here. But for a game engine, you really shouldn't. You mean use GLFW? What do you mean? I mean, if you mean not use GLFW for this, then it's not really a game engine, dude. It's just like a very basic like renderer kind of library. I'm not creating a whole game engine. Obviously, that's a massive task, and I don't really want to do that. I just want to learn more or remember how to do OpenGL, to be honest. FreeGlut. You mean use FreeGlut? I have heard of FreeGlut, never used it. What are the differences? So let's take a look. Maybe you've got a point here, dude. So GLFW is an alternative to FreeGlut. Like FreeGlut, GLFW is fairly bare bones, provides a way to create windows on full screen. Additionally, I'm just going to read the highlighted bit here because I assume that Google is good enough to tell me the important bits. GLFW offers more robust support in a number of areas. Both FreeGlut and GLFW can create full screen applications, but GLFW provides a means to query the available resolutions. They both offer time querying, but GLFW offers much higher resolution timers, while FreeGlut timers only have millisecond resolution. Ask ChatGPT, it will generate your boilerplate code. Yeah, I'm aware of that. That's what I want to do here. I mean, from the simple query, it seems like GLFW provides a more robust experience, but let's continue reading real quick before we make a decision. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to remove Qt for sure. Based on the Glut API, Glut has been around for about as long as OpenGL itself. Ministructure, as an example, use FreeGlut to take care of implementation in the event loop and works through callbacks. Oh yeah, I do remember now. I have used Glut, and it has like the callback architecture where you have to basically create a callback for every single event that you have. And I'm not really a fan of that, to be honest. Designed from scratch with the experiences of other frameworks in mind, given much finer control over context creation and window attributes, GLFW2 provides basic threading support functions, thread creation, synchronization, removed from FreeGlut 3. GLFW2 provides basic image file loading, removed from GLFW 3. Gives very detailed access to input. Event loop is in control of the programmer, which allows for much preciser timing and lower latency. Yeah, I mean, from this quick research, I think I'm going to go for GLFW3, to be honest. I don't really like the callback architecture of Glut. I have used it before, and I'm not a fan, to be honest. I like having everything in the same sort of like loop. So let's try and go for that. Anyway. GLFW is better overall, but FreeGlut is easier to get started with. Well, I think they're both pretty easy, right? It shouldn't be a problem in this tutorial, in this video. So let's go for that. First of all, let's open Conan file. Let's require GLFW. Let's sort all of this stuff, shall we? So we sorted that. Remove Qt. We are no longer going to use Qt. Oh, that's going to be painful. But let's remove Qt from there. Okay. We still have these things here, so I'm going to remove that configure step because it was just being used for Qt options. We're going to remove that as well. And I'm not sure whether I need all of these broadly overrides and stuff, because that was mainly added for Qt dependency resolution, to be honest with you guys, but we're going to leave that there. We're going to remove raylib as well. Another dense, we're going to leave that. Okay, the rest can stay. And right now, what we're going to do is call Conan. And let's see how long it takes to build. That was already done for us. Conan release is going to build the release. Okay. So right now we can just go into the CMake and start adding this stuff, right? So we had Qt in here for the QL abstractions or the GL windows, right? What we're going to do is we're going to like put all of this code to GLFW now. And I'm just going to get the boilerplate. Oh, the boilerplate for GLFW window creation should be fairly easy. And I'm just going to hope that it does work fine on Windows. What build environment are you using? Visual Studio 2017 with CMake? Yes, that is exactly right. So the compilers I've got are from, Visual Studio 2022. And I'm using it on VS Code. That's the environment. Okay, so this looks like a pretty good tutorial, right? So what we're going to have here is, instead of having the Qt abstractions, which is just, I guess, the window for us, we're going to create a new folder called window, just window, and that's going to be our window in system, right? Hello, Muslight. How's it going, dude? It's good to see you. By the way, if you guys haven't done so, please like the video. It does help me out quite a lot, especially now that there's like 10 people watching. I appreciate that. So yeah, welcome to everyone on the stream, and I hope you enjoyed the stream. So right now we're going to do an add subdirectory in here, which will be SLC window. And obviously that's going to fail because we have no CMake, CMake lists in here, .txt. We're simply going to, I guess we're going to add a library here. Add library called window, and then we're going to add some sources in here. And we're also going to be adding some include directories into window. Window.cpp in here, and then, let's actually change this to private now. And then we have public in here. HTTP. Do you compile for Linux as well? Yes, G2. I'm trying to write this in a way that will compile for both Windows and Linux. So I have a very neat CMake presets here, which has all of the settings for both Windows and Linux. So if you're interested, you can look at the link in the description of this video. I think you'll be able to find the CMake the CMake presets in there. It's not the most up-to-date one. I will probably release a new video this week explaining to people how I debug C++ projects in VS Code using both Clang D or the Microsoft CVP debug stuff. And that video will include all of these things. Just hang out. Just make sure that you subscribe to the channel and keep up to date, dude. Does not contain a CMake. It does now. CMake lists here. Now, what we haven't done here is done the target include directories, which will be include, and we have that. Right, so we basically said that this target window here is going to have sources window.cpp and a private source window.cpp and a public header window.hpp, right? And we're exposing that through the include, and let's actually do a new thing in here, a new directory. Nice. I've been struggling with CMake and Conan on WSL. Yeah, so this actually contains all of the settings you need to work with Conan. Actually, I'm gonna take a sip of my Coca-Cola because I'm still like quite thirsty now. I really hope you guys can't like hear the noise of me drinking because that's cursed, isn't it? Muslight, are you familiar with finding memory leaks in a project? If it is, any chance for us to get a video about it? That's a very good question, Muslight. So how do I usually detect memory leaks in C++? Now, if you're using Clang or GCC, the only thing that you have to do is basically to enable a build flag, this one here. So let me find it for you. Boom, 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 boom. It's not actually here. I've removed it. It must be in a different project. Let me find it for you. So you basically enable memory sanitizer and address sanitizer. That's what I do. But I will show you the flags that you need to do. Yeah, the sanitizers, that's correct. So if we go into development, basics for PP, I think that kind of has code CMake. I thought I had it here, you know. I truly thought that I had sanitizers enabled somewhere. Oh, here we go. So this is an example of a Unix build, and it's a debug build. So I debug with O0 coverage, and OG for the debug symbols, and I also enabled the address sanitizer here, which will kind of detect memory issues, right? And yeah, that's basically all you do. So you basically write very good unit tests, and you make sure you compile them using address sanitizer in a way that will cover all of your code and, you know, every single kind of edge case that you may have. And if you run them with address sanitizer, you will catch a good chunk of those memory issues, right? So that's it. What if you use MSVC and Visual Studio? I believe you can also get memory address sanitizer, ASAN with MSVC. And again, there is a flag you need to enable on Microsoft, so on Visual Studio. And there you go. So all you have to do is, like, you have to install the address sanitizer, and it's something you can get in your Visual Studio installation, like, program. And then you have to add this flag here. So fsanitize address is basically the same as the Clang and GCC ones, right? So same thing here. And yeah, that's it. That's how you detect memory issues with your tests, with your code. Just make sure you run it with address sanitizer. Now, there are other sanitizers that are pretty good as well, though. I'm not going to talk about them too much, but there are thread sanitizers. There is, oh, for Windows, there's something called Dr. Memory. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it. So Dr. Memory is a very good software you can use on Windows. And it's basically this, you know, it's a bunch of sanitizers as far as I know. And I worked in a company that used it in the past, and it seemed to work quite well. I've not used it for a long time, but, you know, they seem to have fuzz testing as well, which is pretty good now. But, you know, try this one here. Yeah. So that might be an alternative. Thanks, I've heard of it, but I did not know that we have it for MSVC. Yeah, you can use Valgrind, but only works on Linux. It will test your program during runtime. Yeah, so Valgrind is pretty good. Valgrind is a collection of sanitizers as well. And Hellgrind, which is a step above that, also has threading stuff. And those are all the tools that you can use. But yeah, I would highly, highly recommend running all of your unit tests, all of your end-to-end tests with an address sanitizer, just because, you know, just for the safety, just to have that safety built into your project. And don't forget to disable it in the release mode. Don't forget to disable it in your release build, because it kind of kills the performance of your program, by the way. So just so you guys know. Anyway, so let's go back into writing the windowing system, right? Ooh, I did not mean to open up myself here. Right. So we had window include wasn't there, so let's add a new file, window.hpp. We're gonna do an if and def window h. Ooh. We're gonna select a word, and then we're gonna define it if it's not defined already. And we're gonna do an end if here. And yeah, the idea is that we're probably gonna have some sort of a class, right, that will, you know, be de-windowing the main window class or something like that. It could even be, for now, maybe we can just turn this into a singleton for now, so we don't have to, you know, so we don't worry about switching the context. So we only like accept one window at a time. I don't know. I always forget to ask, what theme are you using for VS Code? So it's a very nice theme called Kanagawa. I think, right? Kanagawa. Oh, it should be anyway. Select theme. Preferences, color theme. There you go. So Kanagawa, that's the one. Kanagawa Dragon, that sounds pretty good. Ooh. Do I like this better? I think I like this better now. So yeah. But Kanagawa is the color scheme, so I'm going to change it to Kanagawa dark, or whatever it is, because it seems to be better on my eyes now. I see that you also code in Go and Rust. Yes, I do. I tried to code in Rust. Sorry, I tried to code in Go, but I certainly do code in Rust as well. And I've been doing so for like a year or so. So okay, so Windows is not a thing. That's fine. So what we need to do here is, like, we already have the Windows CPP. Let's add that in here as well. We've already declared that we have it. So Windows.cpp, right? And it should just be window, not Windows. I'm not getting paid by Microsoft. Stone me to death, but I actually like light mode. You actually like light mode. Yeah, dude, I mean, you're no longer welcome in the stream, man. You can kindly leave. I'm joking. Do stay. I need you here. I need the watch time. Do stay. So what do we have here? So that didn't work. They're still complaining. I think it just hasn't. It just hasn't reloaded it. So we're gonna add another library. Add library. Now what? I don't know what I'm calling this. It's called Discotech for now. I'm not sure why I called it that. It's because this was initially supposed to be a audio visualizer, which we may still use it for an audio visualizer, by the way, once we have a basic like rendering engine. But yeah, I also like light mode, but I love my eyes. Yeah, I love my eyes too. It just goes a lot easier on your eyes, doesn't it? Let's reconfigure here and see what we got. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, do you guys work in front of the computer a lot? So like, is your main job, you know, looking at the computer? Because if it is, then you can definitely feel the difference at the end of the day. And, you know, before I went dark, that's one of the things that kind of did buy me quite a lot back in the day. Before I went dark, I used to get headaches like every day, just a massive headache at the end of the working day. And I just couldn't look at my phone anymore. I couldn't look at, you know, the TV. Because, you know, dark mode is a lot easier on your eyes. I think the contrast isn't so high as it is for, I mean, I don't know if that's the right measure here. Is it the contrast that's not high? I don't know. The focus that you need, you know, to have on your eyes on the screen is a lot less than light mode. And because of that, I seem to get, you know, way less headaches. But I'm not sure if it's just the placebo effect because I actually like dark mode. I don't know. After a long day, I feel like something is wrong with the world. I can't focus on anything. Yeah, dude, that's exactly what I feel as well. But yeah, so we have that. Now, what do I actually want this to look like? I definitely want to add a few different functions here. So I want to add a window constructor, or let's make it a singleton for now, right? So we're going to make this a singleton. Whether or not you like singletons, I don't really care, to be honest. This is just what we're going to do for now. Which means that we're going to have, you know, the constructor as private there, right? So, and we're also going to have a window or a static window instance class or instance function here. Okay. And I don't really know what else the types will have. I guess there'll be like a bunch of GLFW types in here. So let's take a look at that. I definitely know that we have to create a GLFW window here. So first of all, we absolutely need to have a find package. Is it GLFW, GLFW? Ooh, I can't spell. Free required. And let's see if that's going to find it from Conan. And while that's going, I'm currently a student with my thesis. I'm currently a student and my thesis is kind of complex. Others got off with something easy and I chose physics, modeling, and visualization in C++. Yeah, dude, you took a massive L there, to be honest. You could have just done AI, man. You could have just done AI and just replicated every single paper out there, to be honest, or just done one of those papers where it combines all of the current state of art architectures and then compared them, and that was just your thesis. But you chose it. You chose it to do a very difficult project, man. Regardless, it sounds very interesting, man. So I would love to have a look at your thesis when it's done. I would love to take a look at it and see what you've done, dude, and maybe even judge your code a little bit if you're up for that. Just let me know, and I can do it live here. But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to do things differently, though. You kind of feel like, you know, the market is a little bit oversaturated with all this AI stuff, and yeah, it's definitely nice to see a different PhD every now and then, isn't it? So gee, I always go for the hard one too, but good for you. Hope you learn a lot in the run. Yeah, that's the thing with going for things that are, you know, one, different, and two, difficult, like in nature, is because you're going to be doing a lot of research by yourself, and you're not going to find the resources that you need sometimes, which means you're going to have to actually understand things very well, which means that you will learn a lot more than if you're doing something that's kind of widely available knowledge out there, right? Which is good. But anyway, yeah. So how far into your PhD are you, man? Is it your first year? Is it your second year? Your last year? Fourth year? How far are you from defending it? That's my question. Add library. Okay, so we have everything, and we found GLFW, right? So we have a target called GLFW here. Hello Al. That's another very good friend that's just joined the stream. How's it going, my man? We're gonna do a target include, or target link libraries here, and then we have window. Let's do a private one, right? So private GLFW. Is that right? I don't know. I don't think it is. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. The target name is not right, so I need to actually look at Conan to see what the target should be. And there is no example here. But one way of knowing that is like Conan generates a bunch of files for it, a bunch of config files. So we can just quite easily look at GLFW targets in debug and see what they are called. So we have set targets, GLFW. It's just the GLFW. There's no other one. Matt, are you in unit right now? Or are you in the industry? So hello, Benazer. I think it's probably, is it the first time I'm seeing you on the stream? I kind of feel like I've seen you before, but if it's the first time, welcome to the stream. No, I am not a student, but I'll take that as a very nice compliment because I look quite young, don't I? No, dude, I graduated in 2018, so that was 4 years ago. 4 years ago? No, that was 6 years ago, nearly 7 now. I'm in the industry. I'm in the industry for 7 years now. I just implemented marching cubes with a Perlin noise to generate deformed ellipsoids. That sounds very, very freaking difficult. Now I need to calculate the volume and the inertia tensors for it. Should be reasonably easy. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like just linear algebra, right? So, well done. But no, it sounds very difficult, man. Just put the kid on the bed. It was a fight. Other than that, it's a final sprint before release. I feel sorry for you, Al. That means you're going to be doing a lot of crunching, right? I know, in the upcoming week. But as my man shapes the industry. I wish I shaped the industry, man. I'm doing my bachelor's. In my country, you have to have a thesis for that as well. Oh, right. So I thought it was a PhD. Sounded like a PhD. Okay, so G2, I understand what you mean. So you mean like in the UK, we have this thing called a dissertation. And dissertation is basically a thesis, right? So you pick an interesting project and you do some research and you come up with some sort of like, some sort of like theory, then and then you just write a bunch of shit about it and you create some code. I had that as well. My dissertation was on machine learning, believe it or not, on this thing called HAR cascades, which is kind of like machine learning and computer vision for detecting objects very, very quickly. And I also had a second thesis on my master's, which was again on machine learning and computer vision. And it was using kind of neural networks to detect this disease called papilledema, I think, which is a brain swelling issue. But yeah, it was interesting. Can't say it wasn't. But yeah, it feels like everyone is doing the same thing nowadays, though. Like everyone is just jumping on the AI bandwagon, and I did it before it was cool, man. That's what I can say. I did it in 2017 and 2016. So yeah, I just wish I did a PhD in it as well, because I'll be earning £200,000 today. So that's probably my biggest mistake. not doing a PhD, a doctorate. Doctorate? Is that what it's called? Yeah. A doctorate in machine learning, because I'll be much better off today. And I'll probably have like way more stress though, to be honest. But it is what it is. Anyway, so this is GLFW here. That should include things. Now, why did I include it as a private dependency? Well, it's a private dependency here because I'm going to completely hide, I'm going to attempt to completely hide the GLFW types from the user, right? So we're going to use possibly some forward declarations here, because I don't actually want the person including this header to have the GLFW types leaked to them, right? So that's what we're going to do. Now, first type I can see that we're going to have is GLFW window here. So that is definitely something we're going to have to do. In fact, can I just do a GLFW? Okay. So why can't I include a window? Huh. So it seems to me okay, yeah, it's just not the header is just not being picked up by a compilation unit, so the LSP is kind of failing for that. And I just realized that I'm actually compiling this on MSVC and it's not Clang, but Clang tends to be a lot nicer. To, you know, Clang D as the LSP here for C++ is a lot nicer than the CPP debug. But yeah, I have all my exams done and I only have to do my thesis in my next year. I didn't have any time to do it with all my classes during the semester. The doctorate in machine learning sounds pretty nice. Yeah, it sounds, especially nowadays, it sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? You'd definitely be earning quite a lot of money with a doctorate now. Well, I tell you what, G2, best of luck, man, and I'm sure you're gonna smash it. And you gotta think about, you know, once you're done with your thesis, once you're done with your dissertation, you will never ever have to study again in your life, and all of those, you know, 20 plus years that you spend in education will be done forever. So you know, that feeling is pretty nice when you get it. And that's one of the things that I kind of remember very well from my last year of university. Is like, once I had my final exam, once I kind of, you know, thought to myself like, shit, this whole thing is done now. I don't have to do this ever again. Obviously, unless I did a PhD, then I would have to do it again. But you know, that first week where I had literally nothing to do and I could just enjoy myself for the first time in my life without having to worry about school, exams, it was probably one of the best feelings ever, to be honest. And yeah, so I hope you get that feeling very, very soon, my man. That's what I can say. Anyways, we're gonna do a window here. Now I've included that here because I basically want to just be able to see the IntelliSense a little bit better now. So include. Now GLFW is still not showing up here, which is a bit annoying. But studying is really nice. I almost died because of linear algebra, but it was all right. Yeah, studying is nice. Studying is nice, but you know, not having to worry about exams is also nice. So yeah. And I can honestly say that you know, while I was at uni, while I had like, you know, exams at the end of every exam, those weeks where I had like 2-3 exams and sometimes like 4 or 5 exams in the same week were some of the most stressful times in my life. And I don't miss it. I miss being at university with friends and, you know, living the life where you don't have to worry about having a job, paying bills, or caring for other people, right? It's definitely nice. But, you know, having the exam stress, having the kind of coursework stress is not very nice. But yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is that there are good parts about being at university and there are good parts about not being at university, right? Once you've done it all. So yeah, make sure you make sure you make the most of it in whatever stage of your life you are. That's what I'm here to say. Now, we still don't have GLFW here. We still don't have GLFW. But why? Well, anyway, I don't really need the include in here. What I do need is to have... I just want to look into it, really. I just want to look into the header. GLFW... Is it window? There you go. So this is a struct, right? So this is a struct, and I'm going to wrap that in a unique pointer. That's what I wanted to see, basically. So we are here, and I'm going to have a... Ooh, let's go and add it to line 3. With memory. And then we have line 24 there. I'm going to create a unique pointer of a GLFW window. And this is going to be the internal window object, right? Singleton, instance getter. We're going to implement this thing in a second. Thanks, man. I will definitely keep on going. Yeah, for sure. Now that's cool. Now what I need to do is here is to declare that we have this struct called GLFW window, which is what we did right there. And now we should no longer have that error, which is good. And I'm going to keep looking at the tutorial here. So to create a window, we have to do a GLFW create window, and we pass a bunch of stuff to it, right? So this is what we're going to do in the constructor. And of course, we also need to add a destructor in this case. So we have window, because we have for declaration. One thing I didn't do is adding this whole thing into a namespace. I don't really know what to call the namespace. Let's just put it discotech. Oh, namespace discotech. There you go. And then we can move all of these up there, right? So there you go, something like that. Right. So we need to define this. We need to define this and whatever other methods we want as well. Now, I'm definitely going to take in a size t here, which is the width, another size t, which is the size t, the height. And maybe we can have a, I don't know, something like a full screen method, right? Which is just going to full screen the window itself. And this is basically what I want my API for the window to look like with GLFW. So let's do that. Now, first things first, I need to implement these things, right? So I need to implement, let's start with the constructor for sure, and the destructor, so we don't forget about them. So we're going to do a discotech window, and then we had, let's include another size t here, because we forgot to do a cstd def, I believe it is. This is for the size t's. What do you do for work? And how can a newbie get a job in the industry? I get asked that question so many times, and I wish I really had a good answer for it, but I'm going to try my best again. And so first of all, what do I do for work? I am a senior software developer, and I basically do C++ and a bit of Rust, and a little bit of everything else, to be honest, in the, I would say, simulation industry for defense. That's what I'm currently working in. I can't really say too much of what I do, unfortunately, because, you know, you need to keep that stuff private. But yeah, I do a lot of C++ for systems development, though. That's what I can say. Now, second question, how can a new person get a job in the industry? To be honest, my experience when I started was a lot easier than it is now. So when I started, what I did is like I basically applied for like 10, 20 jobs before I finished university. And I had a couple of interviews. Out of those interviews, one of them, offered me a role for when I finished my university. Given that I had the grades that, like a top grade or something like that, that was the criteria for getting that job. And yeah, I got the job, and it was doing OpenGL and C++. This was like literally 7 years ago now. But it was basically the same as today, man. You just got to grind. You just got to apply for every single job, even the ones you're not interested in. Like, I can't say that, I was massively interested in the company that I ended up getting my job in as my first job, because I wasn't. It was probably one of my my least kind of favorite choices, but it was one of the only choices that I had, to be honest. And I was a little bit lucky because, back in 2018, the industry was on a high, and there was a lot of demand for every single kind of software development company out there. Everyone was hiring, and I kind of got it on the easy side of things, to be honest. Now, how would I do it today? Today, for me to get that same first job would be a lot more difficult, right? First of all, because every role you apply for, there is like at least another 100 people applying for as well. Like here in the UK, it's about that much. If you look on LinkedIn, especially if you have like LinkedIn Premium, you can see that kind of information. Right now, it's between like 50 and 100 people applying for the same role, and that's quite a lot. There's a lot of competition, so you have to think of a way to kind of stand out from those guys, right? Granted, a lot of those like 50 or 100 applications are very low quality, like people who just kind of got into the industry, don't really have a degree, or are applying from like places that they're not really allowed to work in the UK. So they, most of them get kind of thrown in the trash, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I mean, if you're one of the few lucky ones that kind of match the job description, you got to think about things to stand out. So like, do you do any like full projects on the side that you can kind of explain very well in a job interview, like the problems you had to overcome, the technology that you've kind of learned? Can you get like any good references for someone you kind of worked with recently? Unfortunately, this is very bad, but like do you have any experience in software already? Like even if you get like a summer job doing a website for someone, that's still better than not having anything. And it's definitely going to help you get your first kind of proper job in the industry. But yeah, I will say that it's a lot more difficult than it was like 7 years ago when I first got my job as well. So if you're looking to hire a new person, would you look at their personal website? I was looking into learning Spring Boot and making my basic website. So yeah, I do. So when I review kind of CVs for people, when I'm part of like hiring people in any company that I've worked for, I've only done that like a couple of times, to be honest. I look at their entire CV, man. So if they mention their GitHub, their website, I'm going to look at what they blog about. I'm going to look at the projects they work on GitHub. So yeah, I try to be kind of fair and give that person who just submitted their CV some time. I don't just like skim through it and then just disregard every kind of like link that they put in there. I try to kind of follow up. But some recruiters don't do that. Some people, some hiring managers will not do that. So you can't really expect someone to kind of look through like all of the 10, 15 links that you've got in your in your CV, because they won't. So the thing I can say is like just make sure that you've got the main stuff on your CV. So the things that you want people to actually look at, and make sure it's like no more than like 2 or 3 links on there, because people are not going to look at everything. That's what I can say. But yeah. My Coca-Cola is just finished. So anyway, so we had a few includes here. So we had memory, and we also need to have cstd-def here. Width, and we had a size t height. All my repos on GitHub are private because this is either school or personal. Yeah, I had the same thing. So most of my repos are private. But yeah, I mean, try and have like a couple of projects that you work outside school. Even if it's just like a simple website or something, just just make sure you put it in there so people can see that you know GitHub, you know how to use Git, which is a massive thing, obviously, for your first job. Everyone uses Git nowadays. So it's good to have some like concrete evidence that you can use Git, a version control. And two, that you can work on a project from like start to finish and you can like plan things yourself. Those are very two like good points that you can kind of like stand out from other people, right? So some people will not have anything, so you got to think about that. So you're always standing out if you have those like very simple projects out there. All right, so in here we need to initialize, what was it? The window. And we are going to do this here. So GLFW create window. Height and width. We could probably do a title here as well, right? I don't know what the other two things are for. So monitor and share. So I guess this is the index of the monitor. Is that correct? So many remarks, Jesus. So the monitor to use for full screen mode, or null for windowed mode. Okay, and share the window whose context to share resources with. Now this is definitely going to be becoming like important for us in the future when we're dealing with different or supporting multiple windows, I guess. But yeah, I will be making my thesis code public when it's published, but that will be next May. All right, yeah, that sounds like a good plan, dude. Okay, so window, now we need to have the title.c string here. The reason why I put that is because we're probably going to expose a title, which is just going to be a string here, right? So const title, and then we go to 5, and then we include string up here. And now we also need to do a string title there. And 2k, include string there. An X string. Ooh, that's not what I meant. I want a C string. Okay. Yeah, we have some issues here. Now, can this return a null? So, in which case does this ever return a null value, a null pointer, or null if an error has occurred? So C reference error handler. Do we have error handler here? Yeah, I don't know how errors are handled, yeah, in GLFW. But one of the things that we can check is, we can do something like, if window, if not window, it's probably want to log that some error has occurred, right? And this comment here kind of implies that I want some logging as well, right? So let's search for a log library. I think there's a log for C++, that was pretty good. Modeled after the Java, but I'm not sure. SPD log, I've used that one before. Let's include this one. I'm going to include this one. And SPD log, okay. So we have, again, we're going to go into the colon file, and we're going to just add a Are you implementing physics for this engine as well? Maybe. I don't know yet. I'll be very happy when I can just get like 3D models loaded, which I'm going to foreshadow, is that the right word? I'm going to foreshadow it a little bit. And we're going to use this library called async to do all the asset loading. I'm going to add some asset loading first, just so you can kind of see a model and like rotate it around the screen. From there, we can think about making this more complex, to be honest. But it's still going to be some time. It's still going to be maybe, we're talking like at least like 5 more streams until we have something working. But yeah. For logging, I heard that FMT is good. FMT is mostly like a printing library. We do have FMT here as well. And it's like, you can think of it as like an alternative, a better alternative to like IO stream, right? Because it does string printing very well. it lets you kind of format strings, and hence the name formats is the formatting library. So it's really good for that. But for logging specifically, where you have like different levels and stuff, SPD log is also pretty good. I don't know why. Oh yeah, because we had a typo. Okay, so we've sorted it now. So SPD log is pretty good for actual logging. That's what I recommend. And again, let's do a Conan install here because we've changed some of the stuff. Okay. So it's like printf. Yeah, it's basically like printf for C++. Yeah, that's basically what it is. We do have printf in C++ as well, but it's not very flexible, and it's not. I mean, it is flexible. It's just not like written. It's just not what you do in C++, really. In C++, if you're doing formatting, you should probably use FMT. It has better like type checks and stuff, I think. But don't take my word for it. Go and use it yourself and see if it's actually good. Right. So now that we have more than one library as well, let's do SPD log here. And we are going to replicate this and do SPD log in here. Ooh, typo. Now this should work, hopefully. So find SPD log didn't work. Did I include it right? SPD log required. Find package SPD log required. So why is this not working? Did it actually install SPD log? That's the question. Yeah, no, I can't see SPD log in any of the Conan files here, so maybe it didn't actually pull it. But the question is, why not? Did I save the Conan file? I definitely saved the Conan file, right? SPD log is there. Oh, there you go. Okay, so there's a version conflict here. So SPD log requires 10.2. We can change that. 10.2.1, right? So let's change it there. And let's install it now. And hope that nothing breaks. I will try it for exporting my meshes into a reasonable format. Yeah, so FMT will help you for that if you're just trying to kind of print strings, right? Although, I mean, you probably, if you're doing meshes, you probably want to print things in a like tree format, right? Because that's what you have. You have a scene graph. Yeah, I mean, you can write your own like scene graph printer with FMT for sure, or you can use something like GraphViz. Take a look at GraphViz as well if you're interested, because GraphViz is for visualizing graphs. By the way, it's a tool for visualizing graphs in C++. Oh, sorry, not just C++, in the terminal, right? So if you can write a GraphViz representation with your C++ code, there are a bunch of tools that use GraphViz information to actually draw it. And I think there are bindings to it in C++, so take a look at that one. It's very, very interesting. Anyway, that was my little tip for you. Right, so SPD log has been installed now. Let's just do the release one. Yeah, we're just pulling all the stuff now. I'm going to be building it from Pedro. As someone looking to get into the graphics industry, do you think landing a job is about the same as any other C++ position or harder? It seems C++ in itself is harder than web dev or mobile. First of all, Pedro, welcome to the stream. I don't know, dude. I wouldn't say it's harder, but the thing is, if you think about the actual like economy today, a lot of game studios, game companies have been firing a lot more people, relative to other industries. So, a lot of the big players in gaming have fired a lot of people. So there's a lot of more like game devs in the market, and that's the people you're competing with if you want to get like a graphics job. Which makes it, yeah, yes, it probably is harder now than getting just a normal, shall we say, a normal C++ systems engineer job. But regardless, man, you should try anyway. I mean, apply for anything you can get, right? That's where we are right now. So just getting your first job is important. So just apply for anything. Do I think it's harder now? Possibly. I don't really have the data, to be honest. My gut feeling is that yes, it's probably harder to get a job in graphics right now than it is in any other industry. But I don't know. Now, do I think C++ is harder than web dev or mobile? I don't know, because yes, there are more jobs in web development and mobile application development, but at the same time, there's like way more developers, JavaScript developers, Android developers than there are C++ ones, right? So I think it kind of balances out the supply and demand there. I wouldn't say it's harder for sure. From marching cubes, you get triangle faces, so I just need to print those reasonably. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not familiar with marching. Wait, it feels like it's one of the algorithms that I have heard of, marching cubes. But yeah. Right, let's reconfigure this. So now this error here should disappear, hopefully. And we should have like a login. Damn, I didn't know about the firing. I was already scared from LinkedIn because I see very few rows. Yeah, it's one of those things. C++ has a lot fewer rows than other technology, right? So if you compare it to Java, React, for example, there will be fewer rows, but you got to think that there's also a lot fewer developers. Let me rephrase that. There are way fewer developers that do C++ than JavaScript. So I think it should balance out, right? So you should have probably still the same proportion of jobs to people in the market, I would say. But again, I don't have the data. This is just my gut feeling. This is just me kind of knowing people in the industry and knowing kind of what languages they do and comparing that very sort of closed bubble that I am part of. So what are your 3 top movies this year? Bram Hendricks, my 3 top movies this year. I don't know, dude. Let me think now. Definitely June. June was pretty good. Let's not lie. June was sick. What other films have I watched? I don't know. I can't think of any films that I've watched recently, to be honest. Let me see if I can get a list here. So 2024 films. Because I've definitely watched a few in the cinema. I watched Fall Guy. Definitely not the best movie I've watched so far, though. I've not watched any of these. Yeah, maybe I've not watched that many movies this year. Yeah, for me, June has definitely been a good one. If I'm honest. I don't think any film that I've watched this year is going to top that one. It's so good that I started reading the book for it, even though I hate reading. So that's how good it is. Yeah, I can't really say the other two, man. I just don't know. I just don't know. I've watched a few, obviously I've watched more movies, especially horror ones, but I'm not going to say they are good films because they weren't. They were not good. I am looking forward to watching Beetlejuice next month, though. The reboot is going to be pretty good. Anyway, game companies are firing people because their games aren't selling well. It will improve in the next 10 years when the people at the top change because of the lack of profits. Yeah, hopefully that's a good thought. That's a good thought to have. I might just adapt and try to learn the C++ one for starters. Yeah, Pedro, there's no shame in getting a job in something you're not massively interested in. You're going to stay at the company for 2 years, 3 years max, and then you're going to move on somewhere else anyway for experience. So, in the long run, it's only 2 years out of your 30 plus years in your career. So as long as you're improving your experience every time, that's what I can say is good. Yeah. Get to sure. Neither am I. Even if you can't get a C++ job, you can get one in the future. And if you learn one more technology language, it will only be good for you. Yeah, that's a good G2. So G2, that's a good point. Yeah, even if you can't get a C++ job, just apply for anything that you can get at the moment. So any language that you do, any sort of tech, just apply for the roles, because at the end of the day, programming is programming. And, you know, if you know one language, you know the others. The important thing is getting the experience in a professional setting, because that's what is going to make it easier for you to land other jobs in the future. So, and, you know, there's no problem that is stupid enough that's not worth working on. That's what I can say. So, you know, in every company you work for, you're going to learn something no matter what. There'll be people who are way more experienced than you, and they'll be teaching you something. You will be given projects that you've never seen before. Maybe the tech, you don't know anything about it, and you will learn so much if you do it properly. As long as you go in depth into the things you're supposed to learn, you'll be fine. In memory management, is memory management still an issue with C++ nowadays? Yeah, it's always an issue, and it will always be an issue. To be honest, it's part of the language, right? So as long as we have like memory allocation that's kind of open to the developer, it's going to be a problem no matter what. There are ways you can improve that, and if you haven't watched it, yeah, watch my video here. It's actually quite recent on smart pointers. So I explain ways where you can kind of improve. Oh, not improve, so kind of overcome some of the issues with memory management by using smart pointers. I explain what the problems are as well. So it's a good video to watch. Right, back to the code, otherwise we're not going to get anything done today. I'm really enjoying having this chat here today, guys, I'm not going to lie. But it does mean that we're not going to get much done today, which is fine. Right, so we have log now, and we have window. We have log and we have window. It means that we should be able to include SPD log, or maybe not. Right, SPD log should be here. Oh, there you go, SPD log. Yeah, finally available to us. Is it logger? I need to have a quick crash course on SPD log. Let's take a look at it. Fast C++ logging library. So, okay, this is how you use SPD log. So we have info error. Now, the thing is that we know how to initialize it. Usually with these logging libraries, you kind of have to initialize it before, but I'm not too sure now. It doesn't seem like we do here. Set global level to debug. Okay. Okay, so it seems just as easy as kind of calling SPD log info and whatever, right? So we have something like SPD. If we have logger, SPD log, right? SPD log, SPD log. Right, that's the one we gotta go for. We're gonna move these things down a little bit. Oh no. We're gonna leave it as it is here, actually. I always like to have this sort of like layout where I've got like system headers on the bottom, and then I've got third parties in here, and headers from this project at the very top. It just makes things easier to figure out what's going on and where the headers are relative to my project. So SPD log error. Could not initialize window. I'm going to put that to do in there because we need to, to actually put in the error somehow. I'm sure that there will be a way to get the error in GLFW. Right? There will be an A to get the error. Maybe not. Maybe it's harder than it seems. But anyway, so we can assume that at this point we have a window in here. Get primary monitor. Yeah, let's do that call. So instead of this, we're going to get the primary monitor. GLFW get primary monitor. And that will return me a GL monitor pointer, which is a pointer to a struct called monitor. Okay, I don't really care about that. So I really admire how you're trying to stream. I can barely speak when I'm really locked in in on a problem. Yeah, dude, it's difficult. I've spoken to this about on the stream before. So when I can get way more code done when I'm on my own than streaming. But at the same time, I enjoy having the chat, and I enjoy kind of knowing that I'm not just like looking into my screen on my own, and there are more people watching me and kind of learning something, right? So that's nice to have as well. But yeah, I mean, you know, productivity does take a hit when you're kind of talking and coding at the same time. Like all we've done so far is create a window. that's it, and that's not ideal, but yeah. So windowed full screen mode. Let's see here what we have. So full screen windows get primary monitor. Full screen windows cover the entire display area of a monitor, have no borders, decoration. So windowed mode, windows can be made full screen by setting a monitor with GL set window monitor. And full screen ones can be made windowed by unsetting. Okay, so that is what we have to put in our function that's called whatever it's called here. So I'm going to put it to do here. So set a bunch of OpenGL settings with GLFW. But for now, I'm going to implement the other stuff, right? So this has to be here for sure. And you might be wondering like why I have to add in an empty destructor, and the reason is because we are forward declaring something. And if you're forward declaring something and you're storing it as a pointer, your destructor has to be, your constructor and destructor have to be declared somewhere where they already know the definition of that something, which is the GLFW window. And that is on the source file. So Bram, I think one of your messages is kind of deleted for some reason. I'm not sure if you can see that. So why is it so difficult to free unallocated memory? C++ memory management is always considered problematic. I don't get it. Bram, it's not difficult. It's just as easy as as doing something like delete, right? So you'd be doing something like this. So you know, my window, for example, is there. In fact, I think I need to actually do a custom delete. So it is a problem in this case, and we'll touch that in a second. But if we had something like, you know, int hello, and that would be a new integer with a value 10 here, it's just as easy as doing something like delete hello, right? Now, this obviously you can see here that the code itself is not difficult. What is difficult is keeping track of the lifetime of the variable, right? Sometimes it is just as easy as, you know, here is a pointer and it should be owned by this class here. So it's a member of this class, and therefore it should be deleted whenever this class is also deleted, right, in the destructor. And that is the simplest case you can have. But the problem is when you don't have that, when you have something else. So when you have pointers that have to live for longer than, you know, the code where they were created, and you have to keep track of kind of who is looking at the pointer and who is kind of owning that object per se, and that's when it becomes difficult, and that's when people forget to do it properly. So this is the problem with pointers, and this is why it's difficult to work with them, right? And even good programmers, even programmers that have done C++ for, I don't know, 30 years, still get it wrong sometimes. So yeah. And this is why shared pointers kind of help you in a way, because they do some of that work for you sometimes. For most applications, it's not really difficult. You just have to be mindful of your lifetimes. In Rust, oh yeah, exactly. In Rust, damn, my comment was the right same thing. Yeah. In Rust, my understanding is that the borrow checker does that for you. Yeah, the borrow checker does exactly that for you. So we, you know, when you pass a piece of data around to a function or a different lifetime, Rust keeps track of like who owns that object at any given time in the program, right? And it complains if you do things that aren't right. So if you have, for example, references that outlive the lifetime of a variable, you know, Rust can detect that, and it can tell you at compile time, you know, this is not allowed. You need to figure out what you want to do here. Do you want to wrap it around a reference counted variable or something like that? So yeah, in that case, it's, you know, it's nice in that way. But yeah, C++ does not have that, so you have to do it yourself, and that's what makes it very, very difficult. So yeah. Anyway, so we have the log here, we have a window. Thanks for the explanation. No worries, dude. So yeah, but do watch the video though. I do explain it very well in way more detail in the video, and I show you kind of how you can use map pointers to overcome these problems. What we need to do here now though is green bits. I don't know what the hell this is. Window mode. Window full screen windows. If the closest match for the desired video mode is the current one, the video mode will not be changed, making Windows creation faster and application switching much smoother. This is sometimes called windowed full screen or borderless full screen window, and counts as the full screen window. To create such a window, request the current video mode. Okay, I understand this is going to create a full screen window mode, which we all know from games, right? It's usually what you do when you want to stream something. Because it just, gives you better interaction with the background stuff. You can create a C++ borrow checker. That is, yeah, I would encourage you to try that, but you find it very quickly that it's not as easy as it sounds, and you're going to have to know how to plug into the compilers and inherently know how the compilers work, and that's a very difficult task. Okay, we don't want windowed full screen mode, so window destruction. Window destruction. We need to call this function here basically window destroy window, right? So this is interesting because now we've basically forward declared a window object, and we pass it into the unique pointer here, which is our shared pointer. But by default, the unique pointer is simply going to call delete on the GLFW window, right? But what we should be doing instead is calling this here. So this is where we add a custom C++ unique pointer deleter, and it's just simple as that. So basically, you use the more verbose part of a unique pointer, where you have to actually pass in the destroy type. And we can kind of do that anyway. So let's do that here. So we have this. We're going to be using the window pointer, and that's going to be std unique pointer of a GLFW window, and then the delete function type here, which is the decal type of the function itself. I believe, right? Is that correct? Yeah, there you go. So it's going to be something like void star. There you go. And then we do a GLFW window. Okay. And this is where it gets interesting now. So window is going to be that as well as the pointer delete, right? So the, I guess, GLFW destroy window. Now I think this should work, or maybe not. So what does this return us? It returns as void, and it takes a pointer to a window. Yeah, because we messed it up here. Now that should work for sure. There you go. So now this is also my unique pointer is automatically going to take care of the destruction of my object for me, and it's basically going to call the GLFW destroy window here whenever the pointer goes out of scope. I've never really done Rust since I'm still learning C++ properly, so I probably won't be learning it in the near future. Yeah, I mean, it's a good language. I can't complain. I do like it. I would highly recommend doing it alongside C++, just so you can see, because Rust is going to highlight the problems that you actually have in C++, but you just don't see it because it's hidden in the compilation, right? So it's just going to compile. But Rust, if you make some of those issues, if you make some of those mistakes, especially with borrow checked, lifetime issues, like threading issues as well, like mutex issues, it's going to actually tell you in the compilation time. So it teaches you a bit about programming in general. So yeah. Oh, I actually have something that you would be interested in as a code review. I have a C program which simulates billiard ball collision in 2D and 3D separated the physics in 2D and 3D separated the physics and the graphics bar. That sounds interesting, yeah. It sounds like I could spend a day kind of trying to understand it, which is both a good and a bad thing because it's probably, you know, kind of complicated code, but it's good because I'll get to review some like hardcore physics program, right? So we have that. Now going back to the GLFW tutorial, there's a way to set the OpenGL version. Window, there you go, window resize, window related hints. So GLFW resizable. So where do I put these hints? Is there a... Okay, so that is my window closing and closing flag. So window should close. We have that. So render. Okay, this is going to be the main game loop, I guess. But yeah, they are running on different threads in parallel, and they use a shared queue to calculate and display the result. That sounds very interesting, my man. So you've got a thread safe queue going on in there, which hopefully, you know, you're doing it properly, right? And definitely not making any memory issues or any threading synchronization issues, which many people do. Now there's a way to set the OpenGL version. Size limits, window position, window title. Okay, so this should create the window. GLF, there you go. I want to have the hints with OpenGL version. I hope not. I'm using mutex locks. Nice. Yeah, that's better than everyone. Yeah, some people would just try and use a queue between like two threads and completely forget that they have to actually lock that thing. And they start getting bugs everywhere. Okay. Now the thing is, we have GLFW here. Now we also have to use GLAD or something, right? Which is what's going to actually initialize the OpenGL functions. Let's try that. Yeah, so GLFW is only going to give us the windowing. We don't actually have the OpenGL functions anymore because we got rid of Qt, so we need to add GLAD. And we are going to add GLAD. And I'm pretty sure that GLAD has some sort of like memory address issue. I'm not too sure. I mean, last time I used it, it definitely like got complained at by my memory sanitizer, my address sanitizer. But anyway, so colon file, self, sorting that again. Yeah, that's just a release here. We don't really care. Yeah, for those wondering, I'm using Conan here to get all the dependencies. As you can see, it's very, very easy. So do use it when you can. Okay. Now we should have GLAD. What do we actually have? So find package GLAD is the one. I did it for class and the professor was very happy that I went above and beyond for the task. I would have had I would have to ask him if I can publish it or not. Yeah, I mean, as long as the general rule is like, yes, it's your code. You should be able to publish it, even if it's like for a university assignment. You just got to make sure that you don't, whatever you publish, you can't track it back to the assignment, right? So don't publish like the requirements for the assignment, and you publish like the question you had to solve and stuff. But yeah, since it's an exercise that is shared between years, yeah. So, you know, as I said, if you do it in a general way, if you coded it in a general way so that you can't just track the project based on the on people just Googling what the assignment is, then it's fine, I would say. But yeah, you might have to change it slightly though. I mean, I shared a bunch of my projects, to be honest, and perhaps I shouldn't have done that, but yeah. I always made sure that people can't just find my code based on Googling what the assignment was. Okay, and if we just use this, I want to see what targets we've got here. Glad, okay. So we are gonna have glad. Now, glad is a little bit difficult. So we have, it's not difficult, it's just different to glue, glad and GLFW. I want to see how to integrate both. So getting started, GLFW headers. What is this? So glad does initialize the OpenGL functions, right? It's an alternative to glue. Glue and glad, as you said, those handle functions pointers. Yeah, there you go. You technically don't need to use those libraries, yeah, but then you'd be doing things manually and you don't want to do that. So GLFW glad example. That occurs, well, that course will have only 5 students next year. This year, I was the only student. That's a small course, isn't it? Right. Oh yeah, this website. I keep coming back to it. So this is what I actually used to learn OpenGL back in the day. So when I did, university and I was learning OpenGL, this website, taught me a whole lot of things here, and I keep going back to it whenever I forget to do OpenGL. So yeah, glad. In the previous chapter, we mentioned that glad manages function pointers for OpenGL. Yep. So glad GL loader. Okay, so we need to do this basically. Now, does it have to be on the window though? No, I'm not going to put it here. No, yeah, that's going to be on my app. I'm going to have like an app object that will actually start the OpenGL functions, that will actually like mangle them. Yeah. I mean, I could make it now, right? So I could just do something like that in here. Yeah, let's treat the window as that object, I guess, for now. And then we can like factor out that code later. What do you think about AI? Do you see it? Do you use it? And if yes, how much? I mean, just what do I think about LLMs? I find them cool. I definitely have used them. Do I use them on my day-to-day like tasks? No. When I do, it's just a very rare thing where I'm like very not interested in reading like an entire article about how to create some boilerplate code, and I just like do something like, yeah, create me some GLFW and glad boilerplate code to create a window and draw a cube in it. That's the kind of that's the kind of thing I use it for. I don't use it for anything complex because it's just not very good at that, to be honest. It would always give you code that never compiles, especially when you're talking about C++ and very specific things. Most likely the code you're going to get, either works and it's just a complete rip-off from someone's like library or something on GitHub, or it just doesn't work. So yeah. The best thing to do is to actually, believe it or not, think and learn things by yourself. That's what I found. You will always, not only learn a lot, obviously, but make sure that you are a good developer by doing that. And don't rely too much on AI. That's what I can say. Because when it comes to the time you're doing that job interview, someone asks you to do a tree traversal algorithm or something like that, you're not going to know how to do it. So yeah. Right. Do I want to do that here? Was it glad load GL loader? I'm going to static cast it to glad load proc. What's the function that we need? We need to get proc address. GLFW get proc address. What does that do? So it returns the address of the specified function for the current context. Get process address. I mean, generative AI, generating 5 seconds, decode for 5 hours, debug. Yeah, that's basically that's the experience, yeah. GLFW get proc address. What is the type of cast I'm doing here? I'm doing a reinterpret cast, right? Reinterpret cast. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah, so we got that. I'm going to put this on the constructor for now because I don't really care about this code being here for now, but this is like the typical code that would be on our main function, right? So somehow we got to expose an application that will like automatically bootstrap. I think that's the name for it, right? Bootstrap all of the OpenGL functions with glad. Yeah, we're just thinking about what this thing should look like in the end. And now we do the viewport and stuff and whatnot. Now GLFW, there you go. This is what I was looking for. The hints here. So I want to do GL context version major, minor. Right, so let's read this because this is important. This has the OpenGL version, of course, as you can see here, but these hints say something else. So OpenGL profile is GLFW OpenGL core profile. The first argument of GLFW window hint tells us the option we want to configure. Okay, good. The second argument is an integer that sets the value of our option. The list of all possible options and its corresponding, it's in here. We can see all of them. We've already seen this. If you try to run the application now and gives you a lot of undefined references errors, it means you didn't successfully link the GLFW library. Since the focus of this book is on OpenGL 3.3, we would like to tell GLFW that 3.3 is the OpenGL version we want to use. This way, GLFW can make the proper arrangements when creating the window context, the OpenGL context. This ensures that when a user does not have the proper OpenGL version, GLFW fails to run. We set the major and minor version both to free. We also tell GLFW we want to explicitly use the core profile. Telling GLFW we want to use the core profile means we'll get access to a smaller subset of OpenGL features without backwards compatibility features we no longer need. Know that on macOS, you will need to add this forward compatibility true. Okay, so your initialization code to work. Make sure you have OpenGL 3.3 or higher installed in your system hardware, otherwise the application will crash or display undefined behavior. To find OpenGL versions on your system, yeah, we know that already. How often do you stream? I would love to be back here again. Oh, thank you, dude. It's good to know that you've enjoyed the stream. I tend to stream on Mondays or Tuesdays, to be honest, and maybe on weekends, like Fridays or Saturdays. And yeah, that's basically it. But I used to stream a lot more, but then it got too much, and I wasn't able to do the things I liked. So I kind of have to take it easy now. I stream at least once a week, either on a Monday or Tuesday. But you know, it would mean the world to me if you just subscribe to the channel, like the video, and then yeah, stay tuned. I have a Discord channel where I actually talk to people. I'm always online in there, so do join there as well. You get to meet me and some of my friends, and we make sure that we can help people whenever they need help. So yeah, if you want to stay in touch and know more about the streams, I'd say the Discord is probably the best place, because I always put like a link to a stream like a day before I actually stream, or I try to. So yeah, make sure you join that one. Yeah, so basically I need to do this as well. My window. And this has to be before I actually create the window or after. Oh, this is interesting now. So this has to be in the main, in the application. I already subbed after like 10 minutes of watching. We'll join Discord. Thank you, dude. Yeah, thank you. So, yeah. Now this is the other bit of code that we would like to add on this kind of theoretical app that we've got. So if we had like a theoretical application class, it would go in there. And should be called before the GLFW create window. Right, just gonna put that comment in there because I am gonna change this. I'm trying to get like a very basic architecture. I was hoping that we would get this working on the stream, but like we talked a lot, and unfortunately I didn't get that much work, but it's been a good stream nonetheless. So I want to do this here for sure. And then yeah, and then we're good to go, I think. And that's basically what we need. So essentially we need another folder called app. And this folder is going to have basically another folder in here, include app, I guess. And we're also going to have a cmake lists.txt in here. We're going to have a new file called app.cdv. And that should just be on the app, really. Move. And we're going to have an app.hpp in here. If and def app h. Ooh, and if. Do you mind if I steal your CMake profiles? No, of course not. So they are there to be used, and yeah, let me just get you a link to the best one. So I'm trying to think, is it basic default BP? I mean, this has a good start. I was off to have some dinner. What did I miss? Pedro, not much, dude. We just talked, and we're architecting things, right? We're still architecting things. Not much coding has been done. But this is a good example here. So if you steal the CMake lists, sorry, the CMake presets here, this has a bunch of stuff that might be useful to you, man. So yeah, steal that and use it. It makes it so, you know, when it comes to opening the project on VS Code, you can just do a select and build preset, and then you get shown all of the ones in here. Or in fact, it has to be, you have to select configure preset first. You select the one you want, and it automatically sets all the good flags and stuff. So yeah, and then this will be my, you know, my God app class, right? That's what we want to do here. All right. So what am I doing now? So basically what we have is we've shifted this architecture. Now what we have is we have the same thing. So we want to have an app class that will hold a window in here. But eventually I want to move these things out. So I want to move my renderer out of the app. And I want to move the component meshes and stuff outside as well. So basically my app is just going to hold the components needed to run an application, right? And everything else is kind of like a plug and play kind of thing. So it will be able to say something like, you know, add renderer, and that renderer will be added somewhere in the, I guess, in the window. But the most important thing is that we no longer have Qt, right? So we have like this architecture where we no longer have Qt here, like taking care of the whole event. Have you compile OpenBlast from Conan? Is literally, my poor computer was compiling for 50 minutes. Yeah, I've compiled OpenBlast, not from Conan, but from source. OpenBlast, and what's the other one? The Intel one. There's a maps library from Intel as well. Those are fairly long, to be honest, but 50 minutes is nothing, man. You should you should compile something like Boost or Qt, and you see what compilation time is. But I'll tell you what, guys, I think I'm going to call the stream here. I'm getting quite tired, if I'm honest with you, and I don't think I'm going to manage to do much more work today because I've been looking at the screen for the whole day. Intel MDK, that's the one, yeah. Intel MDK. I've compiled that one before as well. I was using this C++ library called Armadillo. And that required to, you know, to have like links to OpenBlast or MDK, and I had to compile those things from source, and it was painful. It was very painful, to be honest, compiling those things. First of all, because I think the Blast library, or the one I compiled, was written in Fortran, and I had to get like a working Fortran compiler. But yeah, I mean, it was quite an experience, to be honest. And that's when I decided that I would try and avoid building things from source as much as possible. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to call the stream here, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. I would very much appreciate if you could like the video. And yeah, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Join the Discord. You know, also no pragma once. Good question. So I've always used if and defs here. And the reason why is because back in the day, right, pragmas weren't supported by like GCC and Clang, I think. And I remember reading that somewhere in my first job, and I've always used that. And I never moved it back. It's just like, it's just a habit now, even though I don't need to anymore, because now you can do in any compiler, pragma once will just work, right? You know, Clang, GCC, they all recognize this. What's pragma? Pragma is a, well, any pragma is a kind of preprocessor directive, which tells the compiler to do a particular thing. So pragma 1, for example, basically does this. Yeah, so it's like an include guard for your header. So if you include it in multiple times, if you include it in a file multiple times by, you know, transient dependencies, or you're including it directly, then your code is actually gonna compile because you're not including the same definitions twice. That's what pragma's for. But anyway, now I'm off. But anyway, thank you guys very much for the stream, and I hope you have a very good weekend. And I look forward to seeing some of you on Discord. So yeah, bye bye guys, and I'll see you next time.